Kumudini Pati. I am an independent researcher who is associated with the Center of Women's Studies, University of Allahabad. And today we are going to discuss the topic Women's Studies, paper 15, which is the stories the states tell, and we are going to present module 19, which is about Irom, Chanu, Sharmila. She was an icon of non-violent resistance in India. Now, Irom, Chanu, Sharmila was popularly called Irom Sharmila, and she was born on 14th March of 1972 in Kongpal, in Imphal, in the state of Manipur. And as you know, Manipur is one of the 7 sister states of the northeast. Now, Irom belonged to the Meitei tribe, and this tribe is a majority tribe in Imphal, and this tribe is one of the important tribes of Manipur. Why are we discussing Irom's life today? Irom had been on the longest hunger strike in the world today for 16 long years. And the incident which had impacted Irom's life the most was the Malom massacre. Now, as we know, Malom is a small town in Imphal in Manipur, and on 2nd November 2000, some 10 civilians, including a 62-year-old woman and also a girl who was just 18 years of age and had been the 1988 National Bravery Award recipient, were all shot dead in cold blood while they were waiting for a bus. Now, these people who were killed were actually shot dead by the Assam Rifles, which is a part of the Indian Armed Services. So, you can say the Indian paramilitary force, which is the Assam Rifles, was directly responsible for the killing of these people. And it was this incident which had impacted the life of Irom Sharmila, making her so upset that she determined to start a long hunger strike on that day. That day was the 2nd of November of 2000, and Irom was already on a fast. It was Thursday, and she had been fasting for goddess Lakshmi. Suddenly, she felt that she could not break her fast because she wanted that this kind of indiscriminate killing should be stopped, and the government should repeal the Armed Forces Special Power Act, which had given unbridled power to the armed forces and to the paramilitary to raid, to arrest, to rape, to torture, and to kill with impunity. So, she declared that she would not eat anything, she would not drink, she would not even look at the mirror or comb her hair until the act had been repealed. So, she decided this and declared it on the 3rd of November, and from the 5th started her indefinite hunger strike, which had continued till 2016. On 8th November 2000, she was arrested because there was a charge of her trying to commit suicide, and this comes under section 309 of the Indian Penal Code. So, she was remanded to judicial custody for 15 days. And as she was in custody, she remained in a bad health condition to such an extent that she had to be given nasogastric intubation, that is forced feeding or nasal feeding on 21st November. This was something which was inhuman. On October 2nd, 2006, which was Gandhi Jayanti, Irom was released, and there she went to Rajghat and she paid respects through a floral tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. Actually, Mahatma Gandhi had been Irom Sharmila's ideal. She then joined a big demonstration at Jantar Mantar, and here hundreds of people from all over Delhi, citizens, students coming from Delhi University, from Jawaharlal Nehru University, human rights activists, women's groups, and many such people came and joined her. Irom was greatly influenced by Mahatma Gandhi's ideal of non-violence. So she decided that her struggle was going to be a non-violent struggle, and that is why she decided to fast. But just after 4 days, on 6th October 2006, Irom was again arrested by the Delhi police, and she was this time sent to the All India Institute of Medical Sciences because her health condition had deteriorated. But it is strange that she was not given a hearing. The government did not listen to her. Instead of having talks with Irom Sharmila, they just chose to put her in AIIMS as a custodian. And then she started thinking of writing to those who were in power. She wrote to the President of India, she wrote to the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, and in this way she was trying to follow some kind of a democratic process. And this was the time when a Nobel laureate and a human rights crusader also came and met her. And she said that she would take up the matter with the Human Rights Council of the UN, because Irom's case had caught the international attention, and this person was Shirin Ebadi. In August 2011, this is quite a long time after 2006, this was the time when Irom had called upon the anti-corruption leader Anna Hazare to visit Manipur. Actually, I will tell you the background. Anna Hazare, when on hunger strike, had invited Irom Sharmila to come and sit on hunger strike with him and join this struggle for the Lokpal bill to get passed. But Irom had written to him that she was a prisoner. She was not a free Indian citizen. So it was not possible for her to come and see him or come and join this hunger strike. So Anna Hazare had responded to Irom's call, and he sent representatives to Manipur, and they came and met her. Then also the Communist Party under K.N. Ramchandran, Communist Party Marxist-Leninist, also declared a 1-month-long agitation against Armed Forces Special Power Act. And they had also decided that this is going to go on, this whole agitation and the campaign is going to go on all over India. So they also had a convention which was organized in the state of Orissa. On 2nd October 2011, again this was Gandhi Jayanti, the Save Sharmila Solidarity campaign was started. This was a huge big campaign. Of course, the center was Jantar Mantar, and people had accumulated there at Jantar Mantar, but this was going on at the same time all over the country. There were many non-Manipuri organizations as well as the NAPM, which is the National Alliance of People's Movements, there were many civil society groups which had joined the dharna at Jantar Mantar, and although 11 long years had passed, there was yet no move on the part of the government to repeal Armed Forces Special Power Act. So, this campaign, which had started at Jantar Mantar as a Save Sharmila campaign, it went on in 21 states, and it was decided that this campaign would go on till the Human Rights Day, which was December 10th of the same year. And throughout this struggle, Irom Sharmila was pleading that she was not guilty of the charge of attempt to suicide, and she could not be put under the section 309 of the IPC, because she was actually not trying to commit suicide. It was not a personal act. It was not a violent personal act to finish herself. Actually, it was a struggle, some kind of a protest to get this Armed Forces Special Power Act repealed. And so, she demanded that this 309 section IPC 309 should be somehow revoked. The Amnesty International also heard about Irom Sharmila, and they demanded of the Indian government to release Irom Sharmila immediately and unconditionally. Irom Sharmila was arrested and let off, This whole process was going on, because under section 309 of the IPC, a person who is trying to commit suicide can be kept in custody only for 365 days, not more. So, what has to happen finally is that after 365 days are over, the person has to be released, and this is some kind of a formal release on a personal bond, and again the person has to be re-arrested if she or he continues the hunger strike. So, in the case of Irom Sharmila, the thin dividing line between the attempt to suicide and a hunger strike as a form of political protest was getting blurred in the eyes of the government. And so, the government was again and again trying to legitimize this act as an act of life saving, and they had snatched away her freedom, they had snatched away her well-being, she had become very weak, and in custody, in imprisonment, she was not allowed to meet anyone, even her family members, her brother, her mother, or any of her friends were not allowed to come and see her. So, you can imagine it was a state where she was being formally kept alive in some way, because the state did not want her to die, because they thought maybe Irom Sharmila dead would become a big danger for the state rather than Irom Sharmila alive. So, it was for their own vested interests that they were trying to keep the lady alive. Now, Irom Sharmila had given a statement which was given before the Delhi court. She was produced before a court, and because she was facing trial for allegedly trying to commit suicide, and this was the case which had been imposed on her in 2006, when she had been sitting on a fast unto death at Jantar Mantar. There she said that the police had violated her fundamental rights as a citizen. Her fundamental rights meant that she had the right to be heard, she had a right to put forth her case, she had a right to demand something of the government, but she was implicated in a false case. And so, she said that she had been demanding that this Armed Forces Special Power Act should be repealed or it should be lifted from Manipur, because it had caused immense hardship to the common man, and thousands of innocent people had been killed in cold blood because of this act. Hundreds of rapes had taken place on the women of Manipur, and no action had been taken because this was just one act and it had become the law of the land. It was Armed Forces Special Power Act which could not be challenged. So, we see that it was just one lady, one person against the whole state. Now, if we come to Armed Forces Special Power Act, which is AFSPA, what actually is it? It was actually promulgated by the British when they were ruling India, and this was promulgated on August 15, 1942 in order to suppress the Quit India movement. Then its name was changed and it became the Armed Forces Assam and Manipur Special Power Ordinance, which came in 1958, and this was promulgated by the President Dr. Rajendra Prasad on 22nd of May 1958. It was promulgated in areas which were supposed to be declared disturbed areas. Now, what is a disturbed area is decided by the governor, and they have their own arguments for what they want to call the disturbed area. And then this act was made the Armed Forces Special Powers Assam and Manipur Act of 1958 on 11th of September 1958. And then this gave immense powers to the armed forces to do as they liked and to arrest anyone without warrant. Now, it was not only Irom Sharmila who thought that as long as AFSPA would be in force, she and the people of Manipur could not live a life of dignity. It was not only her, it was many other organizations and people who were also feeling the same thing. For example, the Commissioner for Human Rights of the United Nations, that is Navanethan Pillai, she also thought that Armed Forces Special Power Act should go, and she said that it was quite a dated act and it belonged to the colonial era. It was a law that did not belong to the contemporary times, and it was a violation of the contemporary international human rights standards. So, in March 2012, the UN asked India that Armed Forces Special Power Act had no place in the Indian democracy and it had to go. Now, several commissions were also set up against this act. It was because of Irom Sharmila that this act had come into limelight and people were knowing about it. Otherwise, what was going on in Manipur, what the people were facing there, was not even being reported in the news. People didn't know that hundreds of women were being picked up from houses which were being raided, and those women were being taken for questioning supposedly and were being gang raped by the army men while they were camping in Manipur. So, there was this Justice B.P. Jeevan Reddy commission that was set up, and Justice Reddy was a retired judge. Now, for whatever reasons he said in his 147-page report, the act for whatever reason has become a symbol of oppression. He said it is an object of hate and it is an instrument of some kind of discrimination and high-handedness, and it is desirable, it is advisable to repeal the act altogether. So, this was what was being said as a conclusion of the report, which was 147 pages long. Can you imagine a report which was 147 pages long must have gone into all the details of what was going on in Manipur in the name of this act. But at the same time, we saw that Irom was being arrested, released and re-arrested with great professional regularity, and she was being kept for a day or two outside, and then again she had to go back into custody, because 365 days of imprisonment would be over, and then she had to be re-arrested. Now, there were several other reactions to Sharmila's case, and there was a long drama that was going on all over the country. Meenakshi Ganguly, for example, who was heading the South Asia Human Rights Watch, was also saying that the state has a responsibility to protect her life, but the state should engage with her. They should try and address the problem instead of arresting her. At least they should be clear that Sharmila was not trying to attempt suicide. She was demanding merely that this draconian act, the ASPA, should be repealed. And this was not an extraordinary demand, because many other organizations, many other institutions were also demanding the same thing that Sharmila was demanding. Now, there was this long period of arrest and re-arrest, and then we come to May 2016, and you see that the Bharatiya Janata Party came to form its government in the northeast, and here the RSS was supporting the cause of retaining Armed Forces Special Power Act in the northeast, because the RSS said that this act should continue because it is needed to flush out terrorists from Jammu and Kashmir, from Nagaland, from Manipur and other disturbed areas of the northeast, and indicated that its stand was quite in consonance with the stand of the ruling BJP. So, on this strategic question, the BJP and the RSS were sharing the same stand. Now, you come to see that on the one hand, Irom Sharmila is under imprisonment, and she is on hunger strike, and she is becoming weaker day by day. But at the same time, in 2007, she also gets an award, which is the Gwangju Award for Human Rights. And this is given to some person who is an outstanding person or some group which is active in the promotion and advocacy of peace, of democracy and human rights. And she also won a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Asian Human Rights Commission. Now, as I told you, there were several commissions which are set up in Manipur, and they were all discussing this act and how it should be either reformed or should be repealed. And one of the acts which was supposed to be the most draconian was this Armed Forces Special Power Act, which was being discussed by Santosh Hegde Commission. Now, Santosh Hegde was also a retired Supreme Court judge, and this commission was constituted in January 2013 in order to probe some encounter deaths that had taken place in Manipur. Now, what are these encounter killings? Actually, in the Armed Forces Special Power Act, there is a clause which says that even if the armed forces have a suspicion that some people are engaged in some kind of insurgency operations, the army can kill them, can fire on them point blank, and they are immune to the law of the land. So, what happened was that several people had been encountered, and these encounters were actually fake encounters. So, this commission was trying to probe what actually was the background of the people who were killed in these encounters. And Mr. Lingdo was also part of this commission, and they saw that all the people who had been killed by the army and the police in false encounters did not have any criminal background. Now, all of us know that when this case of Nirbhaya came, the girl who was raped in a Delhi bus, that was 2012, a committee was formed so that the law on rape and the law on molestation and other kinds of sexual assault on women could be reformed. So, this was the Justice J.S. Verma committee, and this committee on January 24th had given a report that some amendments are necessary if the Armed Forces Special Power Act has to stay, and if it is staying there in Manipur, one should justify why it should be continued. Now, the Women's Committee, which was formed during the UPA government, this was a high level committee on the status of women, and this was set up by the UPA government in 2013. And they were doing a very comprehensive kind of study on the status of women since 1989. The whole aim and objective of this committee was to evolve some kind of policy intervention which would be based on some contemporary assessment of what the condition of women was on the economic front, on the legal front, on the political front, with regard to education, health and socio-cultural needs. And it submitted its report in 2015. And one of the recommendations which was very important was that this Armed Forces Special Power Act should be repealed. It had also recommended that this clause where you have to always seek sanction from the central government before initiating any action against the armed forces, this clause should be done away with, because several sexual crimes like outraging modesty of women and rapes were being conducted with impunity by the armed forces. And later on, actually this clause was scrapped by the Supreme Court. Now, in the end, when Irom got tired of not being listened to, she finally understood that this whole drama of arrest and re-arrest would keep going on, and finally she would not be able to achieve the end for which she was on hunger strike. So, she finally decided on 9th August 2016, after 16 long years of struggle, that she must give up this hunger strike. And she said in a statement that she wanted to try some other method of protest, and one could be that she would try to become the Chief Minister of Manipur. She felt that this was the only way in which she could get this act repealed, because the powers that be were not in a position to even think about repealing this act. So, she finally formed her own party. The party was called the People's Resurgence and Justice Association, and that was from which she contested from the Thombal constituency of Manipur against the Chief Minister, Okram Ibobi Singh. Okram Ibobi Singh had been the Chief Minister for 3 consecutive terms, and it was really tough to take on the challenge against him. But anyway, Irom had decided that she would contest against him because she wanted that this constituency, which was gaining prominence because of the Chief Minister, should also have her to talk, and she would talk against the Armed Forces Special Powers Act. But it is very sad that she polled only 90 votes, only 90 votes, which was 0.33% of the votes polled. And this was something which many people have not been able to understand. However, she was brave and she said, "Thanks for 90 votes." That were the 4 words that she uttered after the results came out. And she decided that she would quit politics. Now today, she says that she doesn't want to be idolized. She doesn't want media attention. She only wants that the peace-loving people of this world should raise their voice against draconian acts like the Armed Forces Special Powers Act and the violence that is going on in the name of containing insurgency. See, she said she doesn't want to die. There were people who were saying that she was trying to commit suicide, she wanted to die, but she said no. She wants to fly like a bird with a message of peace and humanity across the 7 seas. Now, this poor political performance, the very poor electoral performance that came as a result of her standing on the seat of the then Chief Minister, that raises a big question on the whole process of parliamentary democracy, on the consciousness of the people, on the conscience of all people who are peace-loving. After all, it also raises a question about the moral standing of the government at the center, because she had won her battle. She had fasted for the longest period of time in the whole world. There is no one else who could have fasted for 16 long years without meeting anybody. And you can imagine, she had let her hair loose and she had never looked into a mirror for 16 years. She had never tried to tie her hair like Draupadi fighting for her rights. It was Irom Sharmila fighting for repeal of Armed Forces Special Power Act. And the message that she has given all of us is that we have to carry the torch after her. She has brought it into national prominence. Now, what is this Armed Forces Special Power Act? The Supreme Court said that there should be no immunity for the army. In a disturbed area where a death is caused by the armed forces, whether the victim is a dreaded criminal or a militant or terrorist or insurgent, whoever it is, there should be a thorough inquiry into the activities of the person. That is what the Supreme Court held on July 8, 2016. They said that retaliatory force cannot be used beyond the call of duty. And in this way, you cannot give impunity to the armed forces. So, whether it is a common person or it is a terrorist or insurgent, it does not matter. Before the state, the person is a citizen and the law applies equally to both, to the state as well as to the person who is being called an insurgent. So, the rule of the land and democracy demands that somehow there should be a preservation of the liberties of the people, and this was given as a judgment which was 85-page long. Now, several books have been written on the life and struggle of Irom Sharmila, and one of the books that has been written is penned by her. It is the book of poems called Fragrance of Peace, and this book is a book of poems which has been written by Irom Chanu Sharmila herself. Another book which has been written by a professor, an academic, is called Burning Bright, Irom Sharmila and Her Struggle for Peace, and this is by Deepti Priya Mehrotra. Also, some people have written a play. Ojas SV is one such person from Pune who has performed a solo play. This is based on the life of Irom Sharmila, and it is called Take the Torch, and this has been enacted, I think, more than 100 times all over the country. And in this way, she is taking the message to all people that the torch that has been lit by Irom Sharmila has to be taken up by all of us, and we have to fight against these draconian laws which are in place in the northeast, in Jammu Kashmir, and many such disturbed areas. Thank you.